portion of the series, we're going to talk about riff building and overall rhythm work that we can do in the style of slash. So let's take a look at how we will break this down. So we're going to start this section off by working in the key of A. We're going to establish some great ways that we can do our rhythm and overall riff building, but we have some great techniques that we can cover. Let's go ahead and get started. We're working in the 5th position. So what I want to think of initially is how I can incorporate that open A string with some of my fretted A notes. Let's talk about some rhythm work that we can build with our right hand. So there's a certain sense of looseness that's really important that we cover here. So I want to make sure and point out how I was able to establish that in my own playing. And a lot of it, if I was to just turn my guitar down for a second, is this kind of real widened whip, but with my hand resting. Almost as though treated like a 16th note triplet, we're going to try to blues it up a little bit and add as much feeling and dynamic as we possibly can. So as I fret my A note with my 3rd finger, I'm going to think about hitting the A string along with it, and I'm going to very slowly go like this. Now if you notice, a lot of that single work is coming off of that initial A string before I go into this one. I'm dampening my low string with my thumb, and it's going to enable me to speed up and bring in some of these cool double stops. So the double stops that I'm going to be playing to give you this sound and style is I'm going to be playing with my 1st finger to cover the D and G strings, and then I'm going to be playing with my 3rd finger to cover the D and G strings. This is almost replicating a C chord and or a D chord. If I have... You can build great riffs and learn how to do some awesome rhythms by just moving that A string, by fretting that A note and going into those double stops. And you could start by just downstrumming. Maybe a little bit of scale. Resolving. Now I'm hitting some accents here where I'm going. This is a G note played along with my open A, a little bit dissonant, but I'm going right to the root note. And we can bring in licks from our pentatonic scale, some of these bends. Now, I do that bend a little bit differently at times if I'm in a chordal way, just so I have stronger fingers. But what I was doing is I was barring with my pinky. Essentially, we see this lick a lot of times bent with our 3rd finger moving in this kind of fashion. I went like this. I like that extra percussive kind of bump, dum dum. If I can mouth it, I guess I should probably play it instead of mouth it. So you could really see the difference here. If I adjust my body position almost a little bit, you can see how I'm going from this position to this position. So we can continue to elaborate and build on this riff by driving off of this A note and going to an A chord position here and bringing in some of my major pentatonic tonalities. Any bend on the 3rd string and resolving a little bit with that this classic just rock yummy. I don't know how to say it any better than that. Look at that, I can hold that A chord.
That sounds expensive.
That's big business. It's very expensive. That's the stuff dreams are made of right there. So when we incorporate some of these other chords, maybe a G and a D, look at how I'm not going to fret. We're not old school. We're not sitting in class. We're not doing it this way. We're going like this. We're going to take away some notes. We're going to use this one and this one. Maybe bring in the high. A little bit of vibrato. So as we play the G chord, I'm going to bring in some open strings. And this is some of my favorite work that he does, is the way that he'll use arpeggiation or playing of separate notes with this fast rhythm playing. So if we have all of these things sound really great, you're playing off a C chord. And it embellishes that really fast rhythm. Let's talk about some of the cool double stop work we can do. Again, this is riffing out in A in the style and getting as comfortable as we can, trying to loosen up our wrist and play things a bit accelerated. And if I slide, those are so great to play, especially with a Les Paul. I'm on my 3rd and 2nd string. Of course, you don't need one, but we can go up here. We can. There's a lot of strength to slide that finger. This is where grip really comes into play, and being able to grab these strings and play the guitar, not let the guitar play you. To go up in this fashion, alternate picking, messing around with these notes. Carrying it down. Classic rhythm and blues guitar, just in an accelerated tempo, cranked through, you know, a humbucker and a loud distorted amplifier. A moment ago, what I was doing is I was doing some work on the low strings. Let me show you what those shapes are so you can incorporate that into, you know, your improvisation. If I'm hitting an A, I might stretch this down before I go to my G chord, then bring over my pinky. Take that down, which is just basically like an F sharp over a D, but I go, and it leads really strong into this by bringing out E chord. So I have an A, stretching that finger down to the G, bringing over my pinky, stretching my first finger, going to my E. Now here's something that's fantastic for the E. What I'm doing here, my first finger is actually blocking the G string, so you don't hear it. Essentially, it'd be like this. Muting out the G so you hear the high E and B string, and not the 3rd. That's a pretty fun thing to practice. It takes a second sometimes to nail that, but it's just a light dampening with your first finger. It's something that I picked up from him. So this is good stuff that we can add into our playing. And we're thinking of a whippy right hand motion. We could start with that to get comfortable. Tap out very simple rhythms to yourself. Sing very simple rhythms to yourself. All you have to do is just incorporate this open A string. You get great work off these double stops with some descending blues runs, some chord work. you have some fun play that works great in the key of A, and it gives you a good sound. Take one little piece of it, break it down, and you're going to find that as you try to mess with some of these things, you're going to create your own riffs. You're going to create things that will get you kind of on your own path, and you'll have to come back to what this lesson is and get some more information. That's perfect, and that's exactly what we want. So small doses, working on riffs and rhythm creating that will get you in the style of this play.